Welcome to the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. Have a question for the show or need assistance with your retirement plan? Give Philip a call today. 863-285-3815. 863-285-3815.
After a year off, they're back. Required minimum distributions, or RMDs, need to go back on your checklist if you are eligible to start taking them. There's some wiggle room on how much time you have to start taking the money, but it's important that you understand all the rules so you don't get stuck with the highest penalty in the tax code. So important that we understand what's going on with our RMDs, and that's just one of our topics here today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. Happy to be here with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. He is the inaugural Highlander Award winner for Financial Representative of the Year. And Philip, a lot to talk about today. Certainly RMDs are something that we want to be thinking about, but glad to sit down with you again. I hope you're doing great.
Hey, doing well, Jen. You know, I've been on the road a little bit and get a little downtime. And so good to be back in the office and back at it as we head into this fourth quarter. A lot to get done before the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have a lot to talk about in terms of preparing for next year. As you said, we are in the fourth quarter. It's also time for open enrollment for Medicare, and that's something that's up for debate in Congress as they are talking about expanding Medicare to cover those head issues, the vision, the hearing aids, and the dental. But now we know a national dentist group has plans to fight this proposal. So I guess it's, remember the old commercials, 4 out of 5 dentists. I guess now it's 4 out of 5 dentists say no to covering dental.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting that they come across that way. And I understand, you know, the Wall Street Journal in their article said that the ADA, that's the American Dental Association, is getting their 162,000 members ready to fight that proposal to include dental coverage as part of the Medicare package. And so supporters of it are saying, look, there's a lot of folks that need help covering their dental because dental can get expensive. And so Medicare should provide that or help provide that for those who otherwise are just not going to get things done the way it should. The ADA says, Medicare won't reimburse enough, which I knew that was going to be the deal, right?
Right.
They won't, and so won't reimburse enough of the cost. And so they're pushing for a little bit of an alternative plan that would say, hey, look, let's limit benefits to just those people who really and truly can't afford it and need help. And so they're asking their members to really lobby against this. And I know that just because the whole medical industry, right? If you accept Medicare, you got to accept whatever Medicare says you can charge. And I can see where dentists, that's going to be a big issue.
For sure. Just talking about Medicare in general, since it is that time to talk about those decisions with open enrollment, how do you handle that? How do you help your clients handle those Medicare decisions?
Well, I'm here to help walk them through some of those things if they have questions. We don't do Medicare supplements or anything that here out of our office.
Sure.
We do have a couple folks that we've worked with over the last 10 years, referring people out to them because we know that's all they do is Medicare, and they understand it to the nth degree. I've got my opinions, and I make sure my clients understand kind of which way I think they should go versus Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage plans, and those type of things. Then we send them on to get help from the experts.
Sure. What else should we be thinking about, Philip, now that we're in this fourth quarter of 2021, which is, gosh, it's hard to believe, but we're saying it. We're in it.
It is. It's just hard to believe that we are. Christmas bells will be ringing before we know it.
Holy cow.
So here's some things we need to be thinking about as we head into this fourth quarter. One is, if you sold anything and made a profit during the year, we need to look at maybe some tax loss harvesting. that may make sense. Remember, if you're over 72, you've got to start taking that required minimum distribution. Make sure that's on your calendar, and those type of things. And that's really the two main points. If you're retired and on Medicare, then you need to be making sure that you've got the right Medicare supplement, you got the right plan in place, and those type of things. So, but above all, we're running into this fourth quarter, and the third quarter was a little dicey when it came to the market. And I would caution people to take time to make sure that the amount of risk they have in their current portfolio really and truly lines up with where they are in that retirement cycle, because that's the only thing that any of us can control is how much risk you have. And so that's where our core retirement design comes into play. Look, let us walk you through that process that we've designed to help people make sure that the risk they have lines up with their risk number, to make sure that they're getting things implemented the way they should. Give us a call at 863-285-3815. Again, that's 863-285-3815 to walk through our core retirement design.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. And Philip, one of the things you said a few moments ago is for people who are 72, you're turning 72 this year in 2021, you need to be listening right now, because these are people who have to deal with required minimum distributions for the first time. It's something that you mentioned just a few moments ago, but let's dive into that. Talk a little bit about what people who are turning or who have turned 72 this year, what do they need to know about that?
You're exactly right, Jen. In 2020, we got a reprieve. And so for some people, this will be the first time they have to look at required minimum distributions. And so if you are over the age of 72, then you have to start looking at taking a minimum amount out of your retirement account, whether that's an IRA or whether that's a 401k plan. And so again, we just to reiterate that you didn't have to do it in 2020, but in 2021, the RMDs came back into play. Now, required minimum distributions take on kind of two levels, right? You have IRAs and you have 401ks. They're both subject to required minimum distributions. IRAs, you can actually you have to calculate the required minimum distribution for each one of those. But you can take it all out of one if you want to. Your 401ks, you have to calculate it for each individual one and take it out of that one that's out there. So a little bit of difference there. The other thing is, if this is your first year taking an out required minimum distribution, you have all of 2021 to do it. You actually have all the way until April 1st of 2022 to take that distribution for the first time. Now, a little caution, if you will. If you're one of those people that decides to take it next year before April 1st, guess what? You have to take another one before the end of the year. So that means you're going to have two required minimum distributions taken in that one tax year. And that can cause some things to bounce you in a higher tax bracket and some other areas there that we want to be careful of. And so I think that, if you've not taken one before, or if, hey, you thought maybe you had another year reprieve, you don't. This is a year you got to start back taking your required minimum distributions, Jen.
All right. So certainly some things to think about when you talk about that timing. Talk a little bit more about options for minimizing our RMDs so we could potentially lower our taxes.
So one of the main things that people focus on when we talk about trying to reduce our taxes on required minimum distributions, on IRAs in general, is doing Roth conversions. And Roth conversions are very simply, we're going to take what's in your traditional IRA and we're going to convert it to a Roth. And you can do the same thing usually in 401ks. If you have a Roth provision within that 401k, you can take your traditional 401k and roll it and convert it to a Roth 401k. Now, that sounds all well and good, right? Because now that money's going to be tax-free whenever you take it out. So let's don't get too excited and let's don't get too big of a hurry to rush right out, right? Because that Roth conversion is a taxable event. The money that you just converted, if that was $50,000 and you converted it from your traditional IRA to your Roth, now you have to pay tax. That's going to be $50,000 of additional income in the year you do that conversion that now you're going to pay tax on. And that can open a whole nother can of worms in terms of if you're getting Social Security, now more of your Social Security benefits could be taxable. It could cause you to have higher Medicare premiums. So above all, I will just say this, everyone, not just anyone that thinks maybe they want to do it, but everyone who is thinking about doing a Roth conversion needs to consult a qualified tax advisor regarding that conversion process and what the tax liabilities are going to be to you. Don't do it with your eyes, half open. Please make sure you weigh all the consequences before you do it.
And what do we need to know real quickly about the penalties if we don't take those RMDs at the right time?
So that's pretty simple, Jen. It's 50% of what you don't take. So if your required minimum distribution was, just say $1,000 that you had to take and you didn't take it, well, the penalty for not taking that RMD is $500. 50% of what you should have taken. And then you still got to take it and include it in your income and pay tax on it.
Gosh. Right. It is such a thing you have to be aware of. Forbes says those required minimum distributions can trigger, it is the highest penalty in the tax code if you don't follow the rules. And you do not want these steep penalties and potentially higher taxes swiping away at your savings, leaving you with just a fraction of the money that you were counting on for your retirement.
You're so right, Jen. Listen, if you make a mistake with your required minimum distribution from your IRA or other retirement accounts, the penalty for not taking the full amount of your required minimum distribution is 50% of the amount you should have taken. In addition to the income tax on that distribution you have to pay. You also need to understand the timing of your required minimum distribution could also cause you to push you into a higher tax bracket, trigger higher taxes on Social Security benefits, and cause a higher Medicare premium surtax. Imagine how fast your savings could shrink if you rack up steep penalties along with taking regular withdrawals and paying tax. Listen, folks, if you've saved at least $150,000 for retirement, give me a call at 863-285-3815, and we can help you create a retirement income plan that includes a strategy for taking distributions from your accounts to help ensure your retirement savings last as long as you need them to last. There's no cost, there's no obligation, but this is only for listeners of the show today. Give us a call at 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. We'll be back.
You toss a penny over your shoulder into a fountain and you make a wish. You look into the fountain and see a lot of pennies, but you see some quarters too. You think, who throws quarters when pennies will do? Now think about the taxes you could be paying in retirement. Do you want to throw pennies or quarters to Uncle Sam? Philip Statler at Statler Financial knows that not planning for taxes in retirement can drain your savings. Taxes can be complicated, so start planning now so you aren't caught off guard in retirement. Call Philip at 863-285-3815. Together, you'll create a plan designed to help you keep as much of your money as possible. Watch your pennies and quarters in retirement. Tell Philip Statler at Statler Financial what your retirement wishes are. Call now, 863-285-3815. That number, 863-285-3815. Our firm offers insurance services and may not give tax advice. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor firm in the state of Florida.
Thanks for joining us today. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here alongside Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. You can check him out online at statlerfinancial.com if you'd like to learn a little bit more. Again, that's statlerfinancial.com. Philip, how many times have you heard this one before? It's not what you make, it's what you keep that counts. I think I've heard you say that before a time or two.
I think so, because that is what's important, right? I mean, if you make a lot and you spend a lot and you have nothing left over, Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
not going to get you very far, Jen.
Exactly. It's less about the number of dollars you've saved and more about the strategies that you use with your savings. And the goal is for your money to be moving in the same direction for a singular purpose, and that is your retirement. So, Philip, what are some things we can do to get our money moving in the right direction so it's working for us in retirement?
Well, I think, Jen, that there's a couple things that I think folks need to realize, and we talk a lot about on the show here. And that's one is understanding risk and understanding how risk, if you have too much risk in your portfolio, can really and truly take money away from you. Especially if you're in that 5 to 10 year time period before you retire, or you're in that 10-year period after you retire. I'm going to say that 20-year spread there is just vitally important, because if you make a misstep, it can cost you dearly when it comes to your retirement assets. So number one is getting the risk right. Well, how much risk should you have in your portfolio? And does it really and truly match up with your risk number? And then the other part, the thing I think is important, is how much are you paying in expenses and fees that you don't see? And a lot of people say, well, I'm not paying anything. Well, if you own mutual funds, let's face it, you're paying something somewhere. And so it's important to know what those fees are and how those could be impacting your retirement also. So, I mean, those are just a couple things that will help you keep moving in the right direction.
Saving money, as we talk a little bit about what's going on with our money goals at different times, saving money is the big goal for a lot of us during our working years, right? But it's not what we're doing in retirement. Creating income is the big focus during retirement. Talk a little bit about, as we are trying to get our money moving in the right direction, Philip, how do we take that savings and turn it into income in retirement? Because income is different from having a bunch of money saved up.
It really is. You're so right, Jen. And, it's great to save money. I think it's tremendous when folks head into retirement and they've got a nice nest egg saved up. The issue I have, though, Jen, is that folks don't switch gears. They continue to do what they've been doing while they were working in retirement. And that really becomes the issue, because if we don't make any changes, if we keep doing what we're doing, then that can be problematic as we move forward. Because in retirement, we don't have a job. We're not making money. We have to rely on Social Security, pensions. We have to rely on the money that we've put away for retirement. And we have to make sure that money is working for us. And so what I see a lot of times is people, they don't have a plan. They've got all these assets and they've done a really good job of saving for retirement, but they don't have an income plan in place. And so they just keep doing what they're doing. And that's the problem. We need to switch gears, really and truly about 5 years out from retirement. We need to be switching gears so that another 2008 doesn't come along and wipe out a big part of our retirement savings. So it's putting together that income plan. How much do I need? How much can I successfully take in income off of my plan to make sure that it lasts as long as I do, whether that's to age 80 or to age, I was reading the other day, 105. So I was reading an article the other day, this lady was 105 years old. So you need to be prepared for that longevity. And so that's the key to me is creating that income plan, because creating the income plan is totally different than saving for retirement and then having the income you need. So just kind of two different ways of thinking about things and two different times of life, right? We need to accumulate, and then we need to have a spending plan in place.
So let's talk a little bit about how we get help doing that, because when I think about other areas in life, with doctors, for example, my kids my younger kids see a pediatrician, but my oldest has graduated from seeing a pediatrician, and now she sees a different doctor. We kind of know how this works when it comes to our health, but talk a little bit about finding the right help when we are in those accumulation years and we're building up and we're saving versus finding the right help when it comes to managing retirement money.
Well, that's a good point. Relating to the medical field is good. So, your oldest daughter now, she's no longer, a preteen. And so, we have doctors that specialize in children that are, young. And so it's kind of the same thing. You use a specialist when you need one. It's kind of the same when it comes to retirement income planning, Jen, because there are a lot of advisors out there that do a good job accumulating and growing portfolios. But it's a totally different animal when we have to start taking income off of that portfolio. And so it really does require that we work with a specialist that can create the income plan we need. And that's what we do here at Statler Financial. We really work hard in creating the income that folks need to make sure that it lasts as long as they do and beyond, because that's the key. We don't know how long we're going to live in retirement. We don't know when the next 2008 is going to come along and create havoc with the stock markets. And so those are areas that are important. And so we need to take all those things into consideration as we plan for your retirement income. And it's I'm not going to say it's easy, because it's not. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Right.
It takes a different frame, a different a set of circumstances to put that plan together. And that's what we do here at Statler Financial. Is we really and truly focus on those folks that are 50 and up, because their circumstances are different than the 25-year-old who's just starting out. And so that's what we do, is we help people get prepared for retirement so that they can retire in style and do the things they want to do in retirement. So folks, look, give us a call. Let us help walk you through that process of changing from accumulation to retirement income, because it is two different ways of thinking about money. Don't get caught up in thinking I can keep doing the same thing, because you can't. It takes a change. Give me a call. Let me start that process with you. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is with Statler Financial Services. I'm Jen Rezac alongside. Philip, what are some signs you see that someone needs a financial professional to work with? What are some indicators that we should talk with someone like you?
Well, I think that somebody that has a decent sized portfolio, you say, well, what does that mean? It means something different to everybody, right? But in my book, look, if you've got $150,000 put away for retirement, then this is you. You need to have a specific plan in sight. And the larger you have in retirement assets, the more you need to have a great plan in place to get you through into and through retirement. So that's one thing, is just making sure that where are you at in the realm of what do you have saved for retirement. Two, I think that if you don't really understand the markets, you don't understand the financial situations, and if you're not working with somebody that their focus is not just growing your money, because I won't say it's easy, Jen, but there's a lot of folks out there. There's a lot of us that can grow your money.
Sure.
But there's fewer people that can help you keep it through retirement and create the income stream you're going to need to retire on. So I would say that's one of those things that folks need to take in consideration.
Yeah, it goes back to that mountain analogy that we've talked about before. The last time I took one of my kids on a trip where we went and climbed a mountain, it was pretty intuitive to go up. We were just going to go up. We weren't going to miss the top because it's right there and you're just working toward it. But it's when you turn around and you come back down, that's when you have to start thinking about your path back down and watching your footing a little bit more, because that's where it's a lot easier to get it wrong and you could end up going down the wrong side of the mountain. So it makes sense when it comes to our money in the same way.
Yeah, because folks, it's a good analogy, because you misstep coming down and you could end up in the valley quicker than what you want to end up in the valley, right? So you're so right. I mean, that's one of those things is and people don't realize this, but if you've ever gone hiking, coming down the mountain is so much more dangerous than going up. And if you've not ever hiked around the mountains, you may not realize that. And retirement or life really is no different, right? So when you hit the peak of that mountain and you retire, coming down from that mountain, if you have a misstep with your finances, then it could devastate your whole retirement. And I think of those people that got ready thought they were going to retire in 2009, right? They if they got caught up in that and didn't make any changes to their portfolio soon enough, a lot of those folks lost half of their money in the market. And so I know several that I had talked to that didn't move forward, decided they had to work a couple more years because they couldn't rebound from that devastation to their retirement funds. And that's what we don't want to see happen. That's why we're here to help coach people into and through retirement. And it's a big deal. We need to make sure that the closer we get to retirement, the less and less risk we have. And you don't know what that risk number is if you've not gone through the process to determine what your risk number is. And that's really the starting point for us, Jen, is we want to know what somebody's risk number is. And then we design everything around that. We design the portfolio around that. We design the income plan around that. All that based on how much risk somebody is willing to take. And having the right tools in place to come up with that number is a big deal. And that's what we do here at Statler Financial. Look, if you're getting close to retirement, if you're 5 to 10 years out from retirement, or you have already retired and you're in that 10-year window after retirement, folks, please don't play around with your stuff. Talk to somebody that knows the planning process to put together the income plan for retirement. Give us a call here at Statler Financial, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Let us help guide you into and through retirement with a income plan and a risk analysis of your current portfolio. Again, that number is 863-285-3815.
Retirement isn't a sprint, it's more like a marathon. But how do you plan for something when you can't see the finish line? That's coming up next. Stay with us.
If you have a retirement plan and would like a second opinion, call Statler Financial Services today. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
You toss a penny over your shoulder into a fountain and you make a wish. You look into the fountain and see a lot of pennies, but you see some quarters too. You think, who throws quarters when pennies will do? Now think about the taxes you could be paying in retirement. Do you want to throw pennies or quarters to Uncle Sam? Philip Statler at Statler Financial knows that not planning for taxes in retirement can drain your savings. Taxes can be complicated, so start planning now so you aren't caught off guard in retirement. Call Philip at 863-285-3815. Together, you'll create a plan designed to help you keep as much of your money as possible. Watch your pennies and quarters in retirement. Tell Philip Statler at Statler Financial what your retirement wishes are. Call now, 863-285-3815. That number, 863-285-3815. Our firm offers insurance services and may not give tax advice. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor firm in the state of Florida.
Thanks for joining us today. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here alongside Philip Statler. He is the inaugural Highlander Award winner for Financial Representative of the Year. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services here in Sebring. StatlerFinancial.com is the website if you'd like to learn a little bit more. And Philip, one thing that I know about retirement, it is not a sprint. It's more like a marathon. And even for people who aren't avid runners, you understand the basics here, the difference between running the 100-meter dash and a marathon, right? With a marathon, you have to pace yourself so you don't wear yourself out before you get to the finish line. And that is not what you're doing with a sprint. And I've never run a full marathon, but I've run a half marathon before, Philip. And even though I couldn't see the finish line, I knew where it was. I knew what the route was, and I knew what I needed to do to get there. With retirement, you don't even know where the finish line is. That's the big challenge here, right?
You're right. That is the truth. And I've not ever done a half marathon. About the most I've done is a 10K, but I have done some Olympic distance triathlons.
Yeah.
Those things, on a map, like you said, where the finish line is, but it's a long haul. And so, when we look at retirement, there's some variances there, right? Mm-hmm. There's people that want to retire early at 62. There's people that want to at least get to Medicare age at 65 before they retire. There's those folks that are comfortable and want to work until full retirement, which depending on your age is 66 and some odd months or 67. And then there's those long haul folks, they're enjoy what they're doing. They don't need to retire. And so they don't need to start retirement until 70 or, and some people don't even retire to then, Jen. They just start taking Social Security because you have to at that point. You don't got a choice. So, but that's the thing is looking at what makes the most sense for you. Not just from a financial standpoint, but from a health standpoint, from a family standpoint, what do those things look like for you? Mm-hmm. And then how do you put that plan together to make sure that when you do retire, that you're going to have the retirement you always dreamed of, because nobody wants to retire and then have to just sit at home and twiddle their thumbs. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And the big money part of this, if we're living longer and retirement is lasting longer, that means we have a lot more years of making sure our money will last. We have a lot more years of things like paying taxes and healthcare costs and all of that. And Philip, when I mentioned taxes there, that's a huge thing that we don't want to overlook when it comes to retirement. And it's so big. This is what actually brought you into helping people with retirement, because you come from the tax side of all of this.
You're right, Jen. I do. And that is my background. And so, I remember back when I first started looking at financial planning and thought, I'm sitting here doing folks' tax return and it's time for them to get an IRA or time for them to retire and roll their 401k into an IRA. And so I sent them down the street to a couple of financial advisors I knew, thinking that they would be well taken care of, only to sit down with them usually the next year. Because obviously I do taxes. I only saw them once a year.
Right. And
what did they do? They were in the greatest and latest limited partnership, or they were in some high priced variable annuity, or, they just weren't being taken care of.
It wasn't what you had in mind with what was happening with them.
It wasn't. Right. And so, my degree, when I graduated from Florida State, I had a degree in accounting and a degree in finance. And I'll be honest, I loved the financial planning side of things. But when I graduated from college, the only way you got on that side of the business was you were commission based. And I'm not a salesman. I never have been. And to this day, I'm not a salesman. And so I knew I could never make a living on that side of the table. And so I went the accounting side. I like taxes. That's the area I went into. But I realized early on in my career that I could do a better job than what I saw my clients coming back to me with. And so I decided then I could jump into financial planning and leverage my tax practice to those folks that were getting ready to retire, and definitely put them in a better position than what I saw happening down the street. So that's what I did, and so we've developed that over time. And then about, I don't know, 7-8 years after I started adding that to my tax practice, I said, you know what, this is much more enjoyable. It's watching people be able to retire and being responsible for helping them do that. That's just so much more satisfying. And so, hey, I sold out of my tax practice and started doing this full time. And it's been a rewarding career to watch folks be able to actually benefit from my expertise and be able to retire when they want to and get the income that they need in order to retire. And so, there's a lot of folks out there that can help people grow their portfolios. There's not as many folks out there that can help you keep it and draw income off of it the way that you need to. And that's really and truly what that's what I've focused on, is helping people retire and have the income they need to retire comfortably and to be able to enjoy their retirement, and so for folks out there who don't really have an income plan, don't have a retirement plan. Well, they've got a retirement plan. They're financial advisor, they're brokers that, just keep putting money into this. We'll grow it. But then when it comes to the distribution phase, they say, well, we'll take it out of this bucket or we'll take it out of that bucket with no plan in place. Folks, give me a call. Let's walk you through our process to help you develop that retirement income plan so that you can retire in the way that you want to, the quality of life that you really and truly desire and deserve. Give me a call and let's start that process. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services, and I'm Jen Rezac alongside Philip. So important, as you were just talking about, that we don't overlook the impact that taxes can have on our income over the course of our retirement. Definitely something that we want to be aware of. The other challenge, as we talk about not knowing where that finish line is for retirement, is how do we grow enough or make enough that it'll last the whole time? And that's where we can run into some problems with things like volatility and maybe having too much risk. Because if we're worried that we're going to live a long time in retirement, we've got to make sure that we've got money for a long time. How do we make sure we don't overdo it with the risk when we're trying to get some of those bigger gains to help us make our money last?
Well, and that's a valid point, Jen, is that if we misstep early in retirement, that can be a big problem.
Yeah.
And folks that retired in January of 2008, they had a rude awakening by the, end of 2008. And we don't know when that's going to happen, right? I mean, nobody has a crystal ball that says, hey, this is what's going to happen this year. We don't. I mean, I wish I could say I did, but nobody has that crystal ball. And so what that means is that when we do sit down with somebody that's getting ready to retire, that we have to do a better job of running some risk analysis and determining, number one, how much risk are they comfortable with? Because I can tell you back in the day, if I'd sit down and go through one of those little questionnaires that the securities industry uses, most people would come out and they'd be a moderate investor. Mm-hmm. Well, Jen, in 2008, when people thought they were a moderate investor, and a moderate investor would have been down 30 to almost 40% in the market.
Gosh, that's moderate.
They realized real quick that they really weren't a moderate investor. So there had to be a better way to gauge risk. There's been several different companies that have put together some different risk profiles now. And so we bounce between a couple of them because it is important that people know from a numeric standpoint where their risk is in terms of from 0 to 100. And then to use that same criteria to develop and to see where they are in terms of their portfolio. And I'm not going to say always people have more risk in their portfolio than they thought they did, because there's times that they don't have enough risk in their portfolio compared to where they should be. So I see both ends of the spectrum. I will say this, very rarely do I see somebody line up, within 10 points of where they should be on the risk scale. And so that's where I think it's important that folks that are, if you're working, if you're dumping money into your retirement plan, I'm not talking to you. Your risk isn't really a big deal. You can handle the ups and downs of the market. But if you're 10 years out from retirement, this is definitely an area that you need to be cognizant of, right? We need to know what our risk number is, and we need to know what the risk number is of our current portfolio, because we can be way off base and another 08 comes, and now it's not just that my portfolio is down. My portfolio is down, and now I might have to work another year or 2 years just to give it time to come back. That's what I don't want to see happen, Jen, to folks. And so that's why we developed the financial x-ray. We can x-ray folks' portfolio and determine how much risk is there and make sure it lines up with their risk number. And it's easy to get started. All they have to do is give us a call at 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815 to get your financial x-ray, because that financial x-ray is going to give them a footing going forward to know if they need to make changes within their portfolio. Mm-hmm. The other part of that nobody really sees is how much are they paying in expenses and fees. This financial x-ray will go into that also and really look at how much are they paying in fees and expenses. So again, to get started, all you have to do is give us a call at 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815, or go to our website, statlerfinancial.com, and we've got a link to our calendar right there.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services right here in Sebring. Again, the website is statlerfinancial.com. They have a lot of great resources available there. There's also a link where you can get right on Philip's calendar for that initial complimentary phone consultation. Again, go to statlerfinancial.com if you'd like to check all of that out. Stay with us.
Call Philip Statler today to get started on your complimentary financial x-ray report. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
From the pitch, swung at a little too soon.
Strike three, you're out.
To the joke told at the wrong time. To barely missing your connecting flight.
This is the final boarding call for Flight 109 to Chicago.
Timing is everything. The same is true for your Social Security benefits. Take them too soon and you can leave a lot of money on the table. Take them too late and you might spend down too much of your savings. Everybody's situation can be different, but taking your Social Security benefits at the right time is important for your retirement success. Philip Statler at Statler Financial understands Social Security and can help you make decisions that are best for you and your retirement dreams. Call 863-285-3815 to start optimizing your benefits. With Social Security, timing is everything, so don't delay. Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial today. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Our firm offers insurance services and is not affiliated with the U.S. government. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida.
Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services, and he gets questions from people all the time as it relates to retirement. We wanted to find out some of those commonly asked retirement questions, so we went out and found out what people want to know about retirement, some of the questions that they have right now. We've got a bunch of different voices that we're going to hear from here on the show today. And Philip, our first question comes from Brent. I'll just let him ask the question.
I'm thinking about taking money out of my IRA to pay off some debt. I know that's not always the greatest idea. I think we can do okay without a penalty because Congress has passed some new laws after the pandemic. But how can we make sure we don't make a bad situation even worse?
That's a good question. And let's just kind of clarify a couple things here, Jen, that Brent, that was the case. And I say was because it's past tense, right? So you could do that until and through December 31st, but it did not carry over. I haven't seen any extensions of that into 2021. It doesn't mean that they couldn't come back and pass legislation to extend that provision, but it's not there now. So if you had done that, you needed to do that before the end of 2020 to not have to pay that 10% early withdrawal penalty. But even more important than that, Brent, is you need to weigh the pros and cons of that, right? And that's one of the things that we did help some of our clients last year weigh those options. Does it make sense to take money out of this account for whatever they needed to do? Mm-hmm. Because by taking money out of your IRA or your 401k, now you're taking away from your retirement. And sometimes it's better to maybe suffer now and be able to have the retirement you want down the road. And like I said, it's one of those things that we weigh out. And it's one of the reasons that we're so connected with other groups to stay educated. And that's one of the things I remember, like, I think it was like December 20th, sometime around in there, I got an email from Ed Slott saying, hey, deadline's approaching. If you have clients that want to take money out of 401k, they need to do it now. And so that keeps us up and abreast on what's happening because we get those updates whenever something critical is coming down the line.
Yeah, just another one of those things that shows you how much these things keep changing and how tough it is for the everyday person to stay on top of all this stuff. I mean, the everyday person, Philip, who's out there working or even in retirement, we're not getting those emails from Ed Slott reminding us of those things going on. That's why it helps to work with somebody like you who's able to stay up to date on all that stuff.
Absolutely. Those are the things. And we try to send out, emails addressing those things when they change or a video email explaining what those changes are. We try to keep our clients informed on what's happening.
Let's go to another one. We have a question here from Gary. This is our Man on the Street segment. We went out to find out some of the questions that people have about retirement. Here is what Gary wants to know.
I've been working for the same company now for about 40 years, and I'm hoping to retire in the next year or two. My original plan was to wait until I retire, take my 401k and do something with it then. But I'm wondering, should I be doing something with it now?
That's a great question. And I'm going to say it depends, right? There's no yes or no answer until you dig a little deeper. And here's what needs to be kind of dug into is, within your current 401k, what are your options? What options do you have? And will those options meet your current needs getting ready to retire in a couple years? My experience has been that normally that's not the case. And that there's other tools that may help you more or better as you get that close to retirement. The other thing that you have to find out is, can you actually take the money out before you retire? Not all 401ks allow you to take money out prior to retirement. There's age restrictions, and a lot of them, you have to actually be retired before you take money out. But some of them do allow it. Some of them will allow it at 55. Some of them will allow it at 60. So that's the first thing is two things you have to look at. One is, what are your options and will they meet your needs? And two, are you allowed to, based on the document 401k?
All right. Great question, Gary. And thank you, Philip, for taking a couple minutes to answer that. If you would like to get on the phone with Philip, and again, here on the show, we do a lot of general type answers to talk through some specifics and learn a little bit more about some of the decisions that might make sense for you, some of the options that might make sense for you in the future. 863-285-3815 is the way you can reach Philip Statler and the team at Statler Financial Services. That is 863-285-3815. We have time for one more question here at our Man on the Street segment, going out, finding out some of those commonly asked retirement questions. Last one today comes from Harry, and I'll just let him ask the question.
I'm 67 years old. I just retired and I'm feeling good. I've got money in my 401k, money in some other investment accounts. I think I'm covered, but what should I be thinking about?
Harry, that's a good question. As I listen to your question, one of the things that hit me right in the forehead was, I think I'm covered. Now here's the thing. I would rather you say, I'm certain I have my income taken care of, but I didn't hear that. And so that's what I think that needs to happen, is that there's a lot of things that can cause uncertainty. And just because you got a 401k and you have some other investment accounts, how are you going to take money out? What's the process going to be? What's it going to look like? Unfortunately, most people retire without an income plan. They have something in their head, or their brokers told them, hey, we're going to do this, this, and this, but they don't have a written retirement income plan. And that is what we do here at Statler Financial. We want to make sure that as we put together that income plan, that every year where your money is going to come from, and if you need a little extra, where it's going to come from. Not that, hey, we've got all these products out here, we have all these accounts out there, we're going to get you your money, and you have no idea where it's coming from. That's not good planning. That's not the way you want to retire. You want to have a true retirement income plan. And so I would encourage you to take some time and get one put together. It's I would say it's simple. It's simple on my client's part. They just give me the information and we put it together. And then we hash it out to make sure it's going to really and truly meet their need. So listen, if you don't have an income plan, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, then you tell me, hey, I've got a financial plan. It's about 2 inches thick over here. That's not a retirement income plan. So what got you to retirement won't get you through retirement. You need to have a retirement income plan. Give us a call. Let us help you set one up, walk through, and keep coaching you through it throughout your retirement years. To do that, it's simple, folks. Just give us a call at 863-285-3815. It's 863-285-3815. Give us a call now. Get on our schedule. Let's sit down and let's get you on track for the retirement you always dreamed of. That number one more time, 863-285-3815.
You've been listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show. Make sure you remember that number we've shared throughout the show today, 863-285-3815. And be sure to tune in again next time for more insights from Philip. I'm Jen Rezac. Thanks for spending some time with us here today. We hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time.
Information provided during the Statler Financial Radio Show is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. All investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. No strategy is guaranteed to be successful.
This radio show is a paid placement.
From the pitch, swung at a little too soon.
Strike 3, you're out.
To the joke told at the wrong time. To barely missing your connecting flight.
This is the final boarding call for Flight 109 to Chicago.
Timing is everything. The same is true for your Social Security benefits. Take them too soon and you could leave a lot of money on the table. Take them too late and you might spend down too much of your savings. Everybody's situation can be different, but taking your Social Security benefits at the right time is important for your retirement success. Philip Statler at Statler Financial understands Social Security and can help you make decisions that are best for you and your retirement dreams. Call 863-285-3815 to start optimizing your benefits. With Social Security, timing is everything, so don't delay. Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial today. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Our firm offers insurance services and is not affiliated with the U.S. government. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida.